The grandfather clock's ticking sounded like a bomb countdown. I adjusted the emerald silk dress Derek once said made my eyes pop, watching the fabric catch light from our bedroom window. 6 years of marriage condensed into the scent of his abandoned cologne lingering on my pillowcase. Clara? His voice floated up the stairs, all wrong for an anniversary evening. Not the playful tone that usually ended with me laughing over champagne flutes, but the clipped cadence he used during layoff seasons at his firm. My reflection blurred as tears threatened. Be right down. The cheerful act cracked halfway through. Stilettos sank into plush carpeting as I descended, each step compressing childhood memories of sliding down this banister. The scene froze like bad theater, Derek's polished Oxford's shifting weight, Mara's manicured fingers clutching our sofa arm. My brain catalogued absurd details. The hydrangeas I'd arranged that morning, the just-married photo behind them still dust-free. Surprise? My attempt at sarcasm fell flat. Derek's throat worked like he was swallowing live wires. We need to talk. Obviously. I crossed arms gone numb. Which part of cliché are we at? Midlife crisis? Trophy girlfriend? Or just 8 months? Mara's whisper detonated between us. The grandfather clock told 7 as my niece found the ottoman. 8 months of Derek praising my couscous recipe while Mara's perfume poisoned our guest room. 8 anniversaries reduced to ash. Clean break, Derek recited like a corporate merger memo. Suitcases by the door testified to his efficiency. Mara reached out, diamond nails catching light from the chandelier we'd installed last summer. We never, don't. I recoiled from her Chanel No. 5 cloud. You don't get to rewrite this. Their exit left vacuum silence. Through bay windows, neighbors walked dogs and kids scraped knees, ordinary apocalypse. My abandoned gift sat accusingly on the coffee table, its silver bow mocking my naivety. The journal's pages whispered as I flipped to my final entry, ultrasound printouts taped beside doodles of nursery themes. Surprise, I told the empty house, pressing a palm to my flat stomach. Jordan's iced mocha hit the table hard enough to slosh. Let me get this straight. Derek pulls a Jerry Maguire, and your response is starting. What exactly? Phoenix Rising. I rotated my laptop to display schematics of the abandoned community center. Workshops for career pivots, legal clinics, support groups. Using what funds? Monopoly money? Her graphic designer fingers jabbed the cracked screen. This place looks condemned. Lucas grants charity arm reviews proposals tomorrow. I clicked to the grant application. His foundation revitalized 3 shelters last quarter. Jordan snorted. Rich guys love pet projects. What's your angle? Survival. The word tasted of copper and resolve. Not just mine, every woman scrambling after life rug pulls. Her skepticism softened. You really think? I know. The certainty startled us both. We build something that outlasts broken vows. Lucas's office smelled of lemongrass and money. Behind mahogany walls, the philanthropist studied my proposal with unnerving focus. Most applicants lead with credentials, he noted, tapping my brutally honest intro. Not failed marriages. Would you prefer PowerPoints over truth? I willed my voice steady. I can list statistics about displaced homemakers, or tell me about the journal. His interruption froze my breath. The one with ultrasound photos. Heat flooded my cheeks. How? Due diligence. No pity colored his smile. You're asking for trust. I needed context. The confession tumbled out. Nights charting ovulation, Derek's increasing detachment, the positive test I'd planned to reveal over seared scallops. And now? Lucas leaned forward, wedding band glinting. Now I want safety nets. I met his gaze squarely. So the next woman gutted by betrayal lands in community, not chaos. His pen hovered over the approval line. This changes everything. Good. Rain sheeted against the community center's new windows as Mara dripped on refinished floors. 2 months since our last confrontation, she traded designer tears for thrift store practicality. Why? The question hung between us, swollen with unsaid apologies. I ran a hand over the freshly painted support group room. Because happily ever after is fragile, and someone needs to teach us how to glue the pieces. Her flinch mirrored mine. I tried calling, and I ignored. Not for spite, the admission ached. Survival. Mara hugged her elbows. He's cheating again. The secretary. The revelation landed with dull thud, not triumph. So leave. Where? Her laugh cracked. I burned every bridge. Rebuild. I pressed a volunteer application into her shaking hands. Starting here, Lucas's laughter warmed the Italian bistro as our dessert arrived. You realize this violates every donor grantee protocol. Technically, I licked tiramisu foam. The conflict clause prohibits financial entanglements, not our fingers intertwined. His thumb traced my knuckles. And if the board will stage a coup when we announce the pregnancy. The words slipped out, sweet and terrifying. His fork clattered. You're 11 weeks. Laughter bubbled with nerves. Surprise. The kiss tasted of espresso and possibilities. Best grant decision I ever made. Derek's reflection in the courthouse window had lost its predatory edge. Beside him, the secretary-turned-girlfriend chewed acrylic nails to nubs. Clara, his nod held hollow courtesy. Big day. Bigger than you know. I cradled the bump beneath my blazer. Heard you're joining our men's group. His flinch satisfied more than any lawsuit. Sarah's idea. Smart woman. I adjusted the diamond band Lucas slid on that morning. Listen to her. The gavel's bang drowned his reply. Across the aisle, Mara squeezed her social worker's hand while Jordan videotaped for the program's archives. As the judge dissolved our union, Lucas's palm warmed my lower back, an anchor in the storm. The Phoenix Rising banner fluttered outside, already sheltering 3 new clients in the lobby. Derek lingered post-verdict. You won. No. I turned toward sunlight. We all did. The annual family reunion buzzed with more tension than Aunt Martha's overcooked green bean casserole. I adjusted my linen blouse, watching relatives cluster in whispering groups like startled pigeons. Across the yard, Mara hovered near the punch bowl, her usual designer confidence replaced by nervous glances toward the news van parked by the oak tree. Breaking news, Jordan muttered, appearing at my elbow with 2 plastic cups of lemonade. Derek just arrived with his latest flavor of the month. She nodded toward the gate, where my ex-husband stood squirming in an ill-fitting polo shirt, a petite blonde clinging to his arm like human jewelry. Mom materialized beside us, wielding a spatula like a scepter. Should I accidentally spill red wine on him? Tempting. I squeezed her flour-dusted shoulder. But let's stick to the plan. The plan involved cameras capturing our family's messy redemption arc, Mara's public apology, the program's expansion, and if we were lucky, Derek's humiliation via natural consequences. What I hadn't planned was Lucas arriving late, his tie askew and hair wind, tousled from what I'd later learn was a 3-car pileup on the freeway. Clara. The news reporter beckoned me toward the ancient oak where Derek had proposed 6 years prior. We're ready for the pre-interview. Mara fell into step beside me, her heels sinking into the soft earth. They want us to stand where? Yep. I straightened my posture. Poetic justice tastes better with symbolism. The camera light blinked red. Mara's confession flowed smoother than I expected. 8 months of guilt condensed into 30 seconds of raw honesty. When the reporter turned to me, I channeled every workshop I'd led these past months. The Rising Phoenix isn't about perfect survivors, I said, watching Derek shift uncomfortably in my periphery. It's about real women gluing their broken pieces into mosaics. Lucas's arrival caused more commotion than the news crew. His arm slipped around my waist as naturally as breathing. Sorry, I'm late. Let me guess. Jordan called from off-camera. You stopped to rescue kittens from a burning building? 3-car collision, actually. His thumb brushed my hip bone. But everyone's okay. The interview dissolved into chaos when Derek's date stormed off after catching him flirting with a waitress. The camera crew nearly tripped over each other capturing his retreat, while Mom celebrated by doing the electric slide with Aunt Carol. Later, under the oak's dappled shade, Lucas produced a velvet box from his pocket. Not a proposal, he said quickly. A promise. When you're ready. The ring's delicate filigree warmed against my skin. When it's right. The Women in Leadership Awards ceremony shimmered with possibility. Hundreds of guests filled the hotel ballroom, their excited chatter mixing with the soft classical music drifting from the string quartet. My fingertips brushed the delicate filigree ring beneath the tablecloth as Eric squeezed my other hand. You look like you're about to face a firing squad, he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. Terrified, I admitted, watching spotlights dance across the stage. What if I trip climbing the stairs? Or forget my entire speech? Then I'll trip too. Make it look intentional. His thumb traced circles on my palm. They're not here to judge perfection, Clara. They're here to celebrate courage. Jordan materialized at our table, her sequin dress catching the light. Heads up, Derek just walked in alone. Looks like he raided the bargain bin at Men's Warehouse. She smirked. Third row from the back, nursing what's probably his fourth whiskey sour. Mom appeared in a rustle of champagne-colored silk, adjusting my pearl necklace. Ignore him, darling. Focus on all the lives you've changed. Her gaze drifted to the cluster of women from our program sitting at sponsored tables. The domestic violence survivor turned counselor, the single mother who'd launched her catering business, the college student who'd escaped a toxic relationship. The lights dimmed as the MC took the stage. My pulse thundered in my ears until Eric's steady grip grounded me. And now to present this year's award, please welcome someone who understands transformation better than most, Mara Schmid. Mara Schmid. My breath caught. This wasn't in the script. Mara ascended the steps in a sleek black gown, her posture radiating a hard-won confidence. The scar from her nervous hair-twisting habit peeked through her upswept hair. A year ago, she began, voice clear as crystal. I made the worst mistake of my life. I betrayed my cousin, my family, and myself chasing a fantasy. The room stilled. Derek's chair creaked loudly in the silence. But Clara, Mara's eyes found mine. She taught me that rock bottom can become solid ground, that our worst moments don't define us unless we let them. She held up the award, a bronze phoenix mid-flight. It's my honor to present this to the woman who turned betrayal into hope, heartbreak into healing, and taught us all how to rise. The standing ovation roared around me as I approached the podium. Spotlights blurred my vision until I focused on Eric's proud smile. Mom dabbing her eyes with a napkin, Jordan giving 2 thumbs up. Thank you. My voice echoed through the suddenly quiet room. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to every woman who walked through our doors trembling with fear and walked out standing tall. I shared Maria's story of escaping an abusive marriage, Lila's journey from corporate burnout to art therapist, teenage Hannah finding her voice after sexual assault. As for my own story, I paused, watching Derek slump lower in his seat. The man who broke my heart once told me I'd never amount to anything without him. The crowd hissed. Turns out he was right. I became someone completely new, someone stronger, someone who knows her worth. Later, during the reception, Derek materialized like a ghost at the champagne fountain. His ill-fitting tuxedo jacket hung open, revealing a coffee stain on his shirt. "Congratulations," he mumbled. "You've built something real here. Thank you." The words held no bitterness. "How's the men's group working out?" He flinched. "Sarah, my girlfriend, says I'm making progress." Slowly, his gaze drifted to where Eric chatted animatedly with program participants. "He seems good for you." He is. The truth settled between us, lighter than I expected. "There's still space in Thursday's session if you want to, maybe?" He backed away as Sarah approached, her kind eyes wary. "Enjoy your night, Clara." The band struck up a waltz as Eric swept me onto the floor. "Proud of you," he murmured against my temple. "Not just the award, the grace." "Grace?" I laughed as he spun me under his arm. 10 minutes ago, I considered accidentally spilling Merlot on Derek's cheap shoes. Exactly. His hand slid lower on my back. The old Clara would have actually done it. The music faded into a slow ballad. Eric's lips brushed my ear. "Remember that promise ring?" My heart stuttered. "The one currently leaving a dent in my finger?" His chuckle vibrated through me. I was thinking, maybe it's time for an upgrade. The church bells echoed through the autumn air as I stood before the full-length mirror, watching sunlight dance across the intricate lace of my wedding dress. Jordan fussed with my veil, her hands trembling more than mine. "Stop breathing so hard," she muttered, "or I'll stab you with this pin by accident." "Easy for you to say," I laughed, adjusting my grandmother's pearl bracelet. "You're not the one about to walk down the aisle." Through the stained glass window, I could see guests arriving. Program participants in colorful hats, family members waving excitedly, Mrs. Whitaker's rescue dog wearing a tiny bow tie as he greeted people at the door. Mom burst in clutching a handkerchief already stained with mascara. "Oh, darling," she sniffed. "You look exactly like I did on my wedding day." Her gaze softened as she adjusted my train. "Though I do wish you'd let me add some lace sleeves." "Not a chance." I kissed her cheek, the familiar Chanel No. 5 scent triggering a flood of childhood memories. "Where's Dad?" "Practicing his speech by the punch bowl. He's rewritten it 3 times this week." She smoothed my hair with maternal precision. Are you ready? The question hung in the air as the string quartet began playing. Through the crack in the door, I saw Eric standing at the altar, his broad shoulders tense beneath a tailored suit. Our eyes met across the flower-lined aisle, and his nervous smile melted into something tender and sure. Ready, I breathed. The door swung open to reveal our improvised wedding party. Mara and Sasha in matching champagne dresses, Jordan clutching a wilting bouquet, and Dad waiting with outstretched arm. "Your chariot awaits," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. As we began the slow walk, I noticed the faces turned toward us. The domestic violence survivor who'd become our program director. The teenager we'd helped emancipate from an abusive home, Mrs. Whitaker dabbing her eyes while her rescue dog gnawed on a program booklet. Halfway down the aisle, Eric mouthed, "You're stunning," and I nearly tripped on my veil. The ceremony passed in a blur of whispered vows and stifled sobs. When the priest pronounced us husband and wife, Eric's kiss sparked cheers that shook the rafters. "Mrs. Grant," he murmured against my lips, testing the sound of it. "Not quite," I laughed, brushing confetti from his lapel. "Rogers Grant has a better ring to it." The reception unfolded in the church garden under strings of twinkling lights. During our first dance, Eric's hand settled possessively at the small of my back. "Remember our deal?" he whispered as we swayed to the music. "No disappearing to check emails tonight. Wouldn't dream of it." I rested my head against his chest, breathing in his familiar cedar scent. Though I did see 3 potential donors arrive with the dessert cart. His chuckle vibrated through me. "Later. Right now, you're all mine." The evening blurred into a mosaic of heartfelt toasts and clumsy dance moves. Dad's speech left not a dry eye in the house, while Jordan's roast of Eric's board-meeting flirtation tactics had guests clutching their sides. Even Derek approached the mic, clearing his throat nervously before raising his glass. "To second chances," he said, locking eyes with Sarah, the quiet librarian he'd met in our men's accountability group, and to the woman who taught me what real strength looks like. As the night wound down, Mrs. Whitaker cornered us by the cake table, her rescue dog happily licking frosting from her fingers. "I've been documenting your love story through Mr. Wiggles' Instagram," she confessed, showing us photos of the terrier posed with various wedding decorations. "The followers adore it. We're calling it Positive Endings." Eric examined a shot of Mr. Wiggles wearing a miniature veil. "This might be the best wedding gift we've received." Later, as we changed into getaway outfits, Mara appeared in the dressing room doorway clutching a battered shoebox. "I know this isn't the time, but..." She lifted the lid to reveal stacks of handwritten letters. "These are from program participants. They wanted you to have them tonight." I sank onto the vanity stool, reading snippets through blurry vision. A single mother thanking us for childcare support, a college student who found the courage to report harassment, an elderly woman who'd left her toxic marriage after 50 years. Eric's hand tightened on my shoulder as he read over my shoulder. "This," he said hoarsely, "is why we do it." The getaway car honked outside, but I lingered in the garden one last time. Moonlight silvered the rising phoenix banner hanging over the dessert table, its embroidered wings catching the breeze. From the dance floor, Mom and Dad swayed cheek to cheek, while Jordan taught Mrs. Whitaker's dog to fist bump. In the shadowy gazebo, I spotted Derek deep in conversation with Sarah, their hands intertwined on the bench between them. "Ready?" Eric appeared with our bags, car keys jingling in his hand. I took one last look at the living mosaic we'd created, broken pieces forming something stronger, more beautiful than any of us could have imagined alone. "Ready?" The tires crunched over fallen leaves as we drove toward the mountains, the city lights fading behind us. Eric's hand found mine in the dark, his thumb brushing the simple silver band we'd chosen together. 3 weeks in Tuscany, he mused. "Think you can handle being unreachable? With you?" I leaned across the console to kiss his cheek. "I can handle anything." The bedroom mirror reflected a woman I barely recognized, the careful sweep of bronzer across cheeks that hadn't smiled genuinely in weeks, the new dress clinging to hips that had lost weight from skipped meals. 6 years of marriage condensed into this single moment of rehearsing anniversary joy when the doorbell rang. "Derek?" My stockinged feet whispered across hardwood as I descended. "You're early, I'm not even." The scene crystallized with cruel clarity, my husband's rigid shoulders blocking the staircase view, Mara's designer heels peeking from beneath our Pottery Barn sofa. The grandfather clock's pendulum swung like a metronome counting down my naivety. "Clara." Derek's throat worked around words he'd clearly practiced. "We need to talk." Mara stood in a rustle of silk, her Instagram perfect makeup smudged beneath red-rimmed eyes. "It just happened." 8 months of happening, I corrected numbly, noticing the monogrammed luggage by the door. My mind superimposed memories, Mara helping me choose Derek's birthday tie last spring, their overlapping work trips in July, the midnight text notifications I dismissed as spam. Derek reached for me. I never meant to get caught. I dodged his touch, the motion dislodging our framed wedding photo from the console table. Glass shattered like the promises we'd made over candlelit dinners and mortgage paperwork. Outside, Mrs. Peterson's schnauzer yapped at passing schoolchildren. Life continued while mine fractured. Mara's trembling hand extended toward the silver-wrapped gift on our coffee table. Open it. My laughter tasted metallic, since you're clearly the expert on unwrapping what belongs to others. The journal's gilt-edged pages fluttered open to our college years. Ticket stubs from concerts, pressed flowers from our first apartment's window box. Derek's choked sob caught on the ultrasound photo tucked in the back pocket. I was going to tell you tonight. My voice splintered. 3 rounds of IVF, all those injections, they finally worked. Mara's anguished gasp barely registered. Derek's polished facade cracked. Clara, go. I held the door as autumn leaves cartwheeled into our foyer. Before I turn you into a hashtag. Their BMW hadn't cleared the driveway before my phone buzzed. Jordan's gravelly voice cut through the numbness. Drunken karaoke night? My treat. Better idea. I stared at the positive pregnancy test glowing accusingly from the bathroom counter. Remember that women's shelter proposal? Let's build it. The community center's crumbling facade loomed like a metaphor. Jordan kicked at water-stained drywall. This dump needs more than lipstick and prayers. Hence the meeting with Lucas Grant. I scuffed paint chips with my boot. His foundation funds grassroots projects. Grassroots? Jordan snorted. More like grasping at straws. 2 weeks later, Grant Enterprises' chrome and glass tower dwarfed my thrift store blazer. The billionaire philanthropist's unexpected youth threw me early 40s with laugh lines that suggested actual humor. Convince me. Lucas leaned back in his ergonomic chair. Why fund your resurrection project? Because last month I miscarried alone in an ER while my ex-husband honeymooned with my cousin. The raw admission startled us both. No woman should face her rock bottom without a handhold. His pen hovered over the grant application. This program, therapy, job training, legal aid, and childcare. I tapped the budget line. Can't rebuild lives without stabilizing foundations. The check arrived Christmas Eve. By spring, the Rising Phoenix Center bloomed with fresh paint and second chances. Legal clinics hummed beside daycare laughter. Trauma yoga classes unwound knotted shoulders. And my old wedding china found new purpose in communal dinners. Mara's reappearance coincided with the peonies blooming out front. I left him, she blurted before I could slam the door. Turns out cheaters cheat. Our awkward coffee dates evolved into quieter understanding. Tell your story, I urged during a rare, vulnerable moment. Help others avoid our cliff. The media ate it up. From homewrecker to advocate, headlines blared. Derek's furious texts escalated as his hedge fund clients frowned on the publicity. Clara, he cornered me after a press conference, reeking of desperation and expensive cologne. You're ruining me. Lucas materialized like a bespoke-suited guardian angel. Ms. Rogers has a donor meeting. His hand at my lower back anchored me. Shall we? The benefit gala's chandeliers cast prismatic light over our slow dance. This wasn't part of the grant proposal, I murmured as his palm warmed my bare shoulder. Best investment I ever made. Lucas's smile crinkled those laugh lines. Though I'm starting to suspect ulterior motives. Our first kiss tasted of champagne and healed fractures. When the paparazzi photos went viral, Mom's frantic call woke us at dawn. A billionaire? Sweetheart, are you sure? Sure as I'm breathing. I traced Lucas's sleeping profile, marveling at life's chaotic beauty. The baby we'd lost had carved space for this, for purpose, for unexpected love, for phoenix wings beating in time with mine. The community center's freshly painted doors swung open to a symphony of power tools and women's laughter. Jordan balanced atop a ladder, her graphic designer's eye critiquing the mural taking shape. More flames on the phoenix tail, she shouted over the din. This bird needs drama. The scent of new drywall mingled with Sasha's lavender essential oil diffuser as she arranged trauma-counseling pamphlets. Clara, the daycare inspectors are here early, she called, intercepting a woman with a clipboard. My phone buzzed with Elena's latest text. Derek's lawyer just subpoenaed program financials. Don't panic. I'm handling. The words blurred as Lucas's hand settled on my lower back. Breathe, he murmured. They're fishing for dirt that doesn't exist. Mara arrived in a whirl of coffee cups and nervous energy. The bakery donated 3 dozen muffins. Her smile faltered as she noticed my tension. What's wrong? Just pre-launch jitters. I forced cheerfulness, watching Sasha charm the inspectors with photos of the solar-powered playground. Lucas's phone rang with the special tone reserved for his foundation. Clara, they want to move up the site visit. His thumb brushed my wrist. They've heard rumors about Derek's legal threats. The world narrowed to the water stain I'd scrubbed from these floors months ago. Tell them to come. 3 days later, corporate suits trailed through our buzzing hive of activity. A toddler's giggle burst from the daycare as we passed. This client, I explained, is completing her nursing certification while we care for her son. The lead evaluator's polished nails tapped her tablet. Impressive retention rates. How do you sustain funding? Community partnerships. I nodded to where Mara taught social media skills. Local businesses sponsor program tracks. Derek chose that moment to storm through the doors, his lawyer's leather briefcase gleaming. Clara, we need to, Mr. Carter. Lucas stepped forward, his calm voice slicing through Derek's bluster. This is a private facility. The evaluators exchanged glances as Elena materialized, her courtroom heels clicking. Shall we discuss your discovery request elsewhere? She purred, steering Derek's sputtering lawyer toward the exit. Lucas's hand found mine under the conference table that evening. They approved 5 years funding. The grant letters embossed letterhead blurred through happy tears. Your center's changing lives. Astor Center, I corrected, kissing him as Jordan hoped from the doorway. The gala sparkled with champagne flutes and whispered gossip. Mara's scarlet gown matched the rising Phoenix logo projected overhead. Ready for your close-up? She adjusted my necklace with trembling fingers. The reporter's microphone caught my vow. Every woman here tonight proves that rock bottom makes the strongest foundation. Camera flashes erupted as Lucas joined me, his tuxedo complementing my silver gown. Derek's shout cut through the applause. This is all lies. Security intercepted him as he waved fake financial documents. She's stealing from donors. Chaos stilled when Mrs. Whitaker's rescue dog trotted in, towing a wagon of real accounting ledgers. Thought these might help, dear. Her wink ignited laughter that drowned Derek's protests. Lucas's lips brushed my ear. They're voting on your leadership award now. The nomination video played my darkest moments intercut with triumph. Positive pregnancy test to ribbon-cutting ceremony, tear-stained divorce papers to overflowing job fairs. When the envelope opened, Mara's tearful Clara Rogers sent me stumbling toward the podium. 9 months later, wedding bells mingled with daycare laughter as our unconventional procession began. Sasha officiated while Jordan's toddler niece scattered rose petals. Do you, Sasha asked Lucas, promise to support Claire's midnight epiphanies and compulsive list-making? Always. His smile outshone the autumn sun. Mara caught my bouquet, her hopeful glance lingering on the chef catering our reception. Across the dance floor, Derek clinked ears with a construction worker from our job placement program. As twilight painted the center's mural in gold, Lucas spun me through our first dance. Remember our deal? He pressed the promise ring to his chest. Next chapter starts tomorrow. Through the arched windows, Mrs. Whitaker's dog chased fireflies, while program graduates toasted marshmallows at the new community fire pit. The phoenix wings we'd painted last spring seemed to beat in time with our swaying. Not endings, but endless beginnings.